discussed this before about this sort of emergence of this sort of retail therapy where clients become consumers. In this country, the language has moved from being a patient to being a client now to being a consumer, really, because it's business to consumer. It's direct, being able to self-refer into services. In my book, I call it psychic Pilates, that you get what you can pay for. You know, we're moving away from a system of public access healthcare, of course. And I think one of the sort of shifts in our thinking, you said, Linda, we've got to educate ourselves about what's actually happening right now, is at the moment we're at a state of kind of, not ignorance, but it's very hard to see the horizon. It's very hard to see the panorama. It's very hard to understand AI technologies and digitalization and the new business models that are coming in. Partly because it's happened so fast and so sort of traumatically because of COVID. We're in a world that we actually just don't understand. So the first thing to say is just to encourage people to nervously not be embarrassed about the fact that I don't really know what an algorithm is, but actually I'm living in that world where I have to navigate it. So being understanding of each other's ignorance, but not letting that stop us learn something. So I think that's particularly difficult around the generational splits within the profession, around the next generation who won't have a living memory of how it used to be, and that may not be the sort of ethical and political issues that they have to deal with. So it has to be a coming together of our understanding of where we're living right now, because you might think that in your private practice, doing a bit of Zoom therapy, that you're immune from these trends. You're not actually. You're fundamentally going to be affected. Your practice is going to be affected by the business model that now dominates. So there's something about learning, but there's also something about not shutting ourselves off from getting clever about this new market that we're in. So consumer power is really going to be very important. So I'll tell you a story. Last year I did Radio 4 program, File on 4 program about EAPs, employee assistance programs, one of the big providers, Health Assured, in this country, which dominates in the public sector at universities and student groups and stuff. And I worked with these BBC journalists for 6 months, and every word was checked by a lawyer, because these companies, as you know very well, are very litigious. So we're all terrified of being tied up in these big legal cases. I remember, Gary, you talked about the slow walk strategy of these companies, which includes just bogging you down in legal action and administration so that you can't actually move on. And they did this program, and the BBC raised concerns about this company with the professional body that accredited their services, and they were suspended temporarily. Didn't mean anything in the sense that the company carries on in the way that it did, but it was a really important moment. And people were contacting me and going, that was a complete waste of your time. Nothing's ever going to change as a result of it. And I was really upset, because it had taken months and months of really unpaid work to deliver a lifetime of knowledge and union organizing. My background's in the mining sector, to get a very small gain. And I I'm not saying that to say you shouldn't have said that to me, but I'm just saying we've got to change our minds about what success looks like in this climate. It is incremental. There are only small gains that can be made by people like us, but they're important precedences that we set. And the second thing is to identify who our friends are in the room. Ultimately, the consumers of therapy are the ones that are going to determine what stays and what doesn't stay, where the jobs are, where the profession is going. So there's a sort of, it feels like as if this isn't just an important sort of like issue around knowledge and our understanding, but it's important for us to shift the way that we work, the way that we organize, as understanding we have to accept the reality that this is a financial logic, and that the consumers will ultimately have more power in this conversation than we do as professionals.